frustrated and irritated and had to pull myself in.
Just like something that has been pushed.
Part of life. And yes, definitely. When my blood pressure started.
Oh, a believer.
Welcome everyone to our channel, Integrative Approaches in Healthier Living. Happy to have you back. I'm Tami, and this is Coach Chris. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Tami?
I am well, thank you.
We have everything running, right? We'll get through this recording and be
We're recording, I'm recording, so we're all good.
Yeah, we're all recording. Perfect.
All good.
Now I almost want to like dodge around the corner and be like, double check and make sure I'm recording, but I know I'm recording, so no big deal.
You go for it.
Yeah. So the Chopra Center, we were just chatting briefly about that as we started rolling on this. So we had a long conversation a while back, actually not too long, but where we kind of discussed your journey in general, like how, what was your aha moment? That's actually like one of our very first videos. What was your aha moment? We were like, oh, we'll get into this, let it lead into this next segment right after that. But now we're several videos in and we're finally getting back around to it. So
Right. No time like the present. We're doing it when we're supposed to do it, right? It's
Yeah.
how we just kind of fall in line with what we're called to do when we're called to do it. And I think, yeah, so now is the time. No time like the present, and let's move forward. So yeah.
Yep.
You want me to start, or you want to ask me a question and see where we go?
Actually, one thing that I remember I've been thinking about this, for a while after our previous conversations, and we've never really got too much into that hiatus in between where your aha moment was and the Chopra Center and all of that. So I guess we'll do a long story short. What was what factors do you believe kind of drew you to the Chopra Center? And what was, what was that journey? What do you feel like, what were the events that happened in between your aha moment and the Chopra Center that when you found the Chopra Center, you were like, okay, this resonates?
Absolutely. Yes. So, and I can remember it as vividly as it was like yesterday. So, fast forward, so acupuncture, and then, learning about Chinese medicine and some diet tweaks, although I didn't dive in super deep in any of that.
Right.
But I was, going to acupuncture and loving how I was feeling as a result of that.
Right.
But then my acupuncturist, shifted and changed and moved. And so then I just kind of moved away from that. And then by the time I turned, I want to say like 43, 45, somewhere in there, years old, I started developing dizziness.
Okay.
And like crazy dizziness, and then it just progressed and kept getting worse and worse. And then it started to really impact my life. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to drive because I was too dizzy.
Right.
And doctors are like, oh, maybe it's vertigo, maybe it's your heart, maybe it's this, maybe it's that.
Right. Right.
And going through all of the tests, cardiology, EKGs, everything,
Right.
all of those things came back normal. I was fine, nothing. And it was a brilliant pharmacist friend whom I was sharing my story with. And she's like, you know what, Tami? I bet it's your hormones. It sounds like it's hormone fluctuations. So
Right.
she gave me a recommendation of a doctor, which was the functional medicine doctor where I am still today.
Right.
And lo and behold, all of my levels were like tanked. But
Right.
so it was that. Ultimately, it was perimenopause. But before I really learned all of that, because I felt so terrible, my husband Zane had bought me a random book. He went, no random, no coincidences. He had gone to a bookstore walking around and came across Deepak Chopra's book, titled Perfect Health. And it was all about Ayurveda and all of the things. So
Right.
he gives it to me for Christmas and he says, I don't know what you think about this, but it sounds like something that maybe can help you. So I started reading it, and then lo and behold, I found out there was an actual Chopra Center in Southern California, and they held retreats. So I booked one just like on a whim. I'm like, this sounds like something I want to do. So I booked us a trip. He was on a work travel. He came home, and I'm like,
Real quick though, to back you up before you get too far ahead of
yeah,
yourself,
yeah, yeah.
what values did you find in the book that really drew you to the making or scheduling, with that retreat? Because I think like, like there obviously must have been something in the book that was like stuck out to you and seemed relevant to you enough that you're gonna travel from one side of the country to
To
the
the
other
other.
to go for a retreat. So why don't you dive into that a bit more and tell us
Yes.
a bit more
So
about that?
yes. So the concepts of Ayurveda are it revolves around our mind, body, constitution. So mind, body, spirit. I
Right,
learned that Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old ancient healing system from based out
right,
of India.
right,
And just the concepts seemed to call me, seemed to appeal to me. So you can learn your dosha. There's a quiz that the Chopra Center has, and there's probably
right.
many others online. So I took a dosha
Explain
quiz.
explain to people what your
I will,
dosha
I will,
is.
I
Okay,
will.
okay.
So I took a dosha quiz, right? And I learned that I was a pitta and a kapha. So pittas are like fiery kind of people. And so you have three doshas, pitta, vata, and kapha. And
Right,
everybody is comprised of some form, some version of these doshas.
right,
And based on what your doshas are, helps to guide and direct you through your life's situations and circumstances,
right.
from your diet, from how we think, how we process, how we lead in our lives,
So this is
whether
more
we
like
see
kind of like a way to define different energy types.
it.
To
Yes,
put it in
yes.
layman terms for people that are
True, true. It has to do with our constitution, our innate constant. We're born this way, right?
right, right,
So it's just trying to learn and understand
right,
who we are at the cellular level and
right,
how to apply ancient ancient philosophies to help support our body. And I
right,
think the biggest component to it that really resonated the most with me is the thought process behind it medically is we try to treat things that appear in blood work. Or so like if your cholesterol numbers seem to be climbing, let's not wait until you're out of range and then prescribe a statin or whatever else might be necessary
right,
to
right,
bring you back in range. The numbers
right,
are climbing. Ayurveda teaches us to look at why that might be happening. Yes, it could be a
right,
genetic situation,
right,
but are we under a lot of stress? Are we not
right,
eating right? Things like
right,
that. So I loved the fact that it was really based around the thought process of treating before something got out of hand, before
right.
before you get the diagnosis, right? And we're not
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
my
absolutely.
genetic situation because we can't
Honestly,
change
like,
the genes,
yeah,
right? But
honestly, right
type 2
now, and
diabetes, yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I was gonna just second that because a big part of the movement in the United States right now is what we call preventive care,
mhm,
so preventative care. Speaking exactly to what you're talking about right now, bringing it full circle to the US, which is, we'll just say, one of the more advanced medical communities now is finally getting on the bandwagon of these principles that you're talking about. Whereas, hey, like, let's focus on let's focus on what's going on with the person before they need to start taking high blood pressure medication. Let's
mhm,
focus on what's going on with the person before they reach, obese level 1 or obese level 2 and they have, other risk factors. So that's cool that you bring that up because it's funny, yes, you're talking about when was this?
2012.
2012. So then, yeah, I mean, okay, it took the medical community like almost, well, in regards to where your journey is, almost, well, more than 20 years to catch up, really, like, 18 years to catch up. But in
Hmm.
truth, Ayurveda is so much older than that. So let's just say it took the medical community several thousand years to catch up.
Right, right. Yes. I
Right.
mean, and I think the medical community is even starting to embrace more holistic approaches or functional
Absolutely.
medicine,
Absolutely.
integrative
Yeah. Yeah.
medicine, and
Right.
and kind of along the lines of the concierge doctor, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's something that you said just a second ago that just resonated with the first time that we talked somewhat on the subject, and it just kind of came back to you know um, taking an intentional approach. Like you and I, listening to hear you talk, it doesn't surprise me coming out of where you had your aha moment to being like, okay, I need to be more intentional. To that Ayurveda, and Chopra Center like resonated so much, which is, hey, let's take an intentional approach to your ongoing health and treat things like before they
Hmm.
happen,
Hmm.
opposed to a reactive approach, which is, hey, let's wait until there is a problem that shows up on your labs before we
Right,
actually
right.
start
Yeah,
doing anything
because I
about it.
already I already have known issues, right? So if
Right,
I can help mitigate a
right,
future potential issue,
right.
then why not? Why not at least try, or, you know,
Yeah, very good.
strive to prevent that from even occurring.
Yeah,
So,
very
yeah.
good. Yeah. Well, all right, then what's next?
So
What's the
we went to this retreat, right? It ended
right,
up being like a 3 or 4 day retreat, and I felt it was interesting because there was a lot of medical doctors there at the time,
right, right,
and it was fascinating to me. I'm like, wow, there's actually really physicians here learning these concepts, and
right,
physicians that were practicing and applying these concepts in their
right,
practice
right,
and teaching on the results that they had found.
right,
So I didn't realize when we went out there that one could continue their journey in the Ayurvedic field and
right,
become a certified instructor with the
right,
Chopra Center.
right,
Within that program, there was also meditation and yoga.
right.
So they sprinkled both in throughout the entire event. So I got a little bit deeper dive into their primordial sound meditation program that they teach, and then obviously yoga. So by the time I left that weekend, I was like, I think I want to continue this journey and become a
Right,
certified instructor. And even if I didn't teach it to anybody else, I wanted it for my own knowledge so that I knew how to take the best care of myself through however many years I had left in front of me. So fast forward to today. Yes, I'm certified in Ayurveda through the Chopra Center.
right.
I got my husband to do the primordial sound meditations part of it. And then
That's
I'm
funny knowing Zane myself. That's
and
cool though.
what do you mean by that? Expand upon that. We went to the Chopra Center together every single time through both of our certification processes
Very
because
cool.
it was all done in person. There was no online
Right,
approach
right,
to this
right.
program.
Yeah,
So we had to travel like at least 7 or 8 different times to the
wow,
Chopra Center, and we both went through all of the same programs together,
that's
except
cool.
he did the certification for meditation and I did the certification for Ayurveda, which funnily enough was their most difficult program to get through because there's all kinds of body parts, and it
Right,
was close to like a full-on medical situation.
right,
So,
right, right.
but yes, yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So then I ended up getting my yoga certifications with the yoga teacher that I had met in California, Claire Diab, with the American Yoga Academy, who is just a lovely, lovely lady and a good friend now. And she helped me dive deeper into my canine chakra yoga program. So yeah,
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 that's awesome.
yeah. So it's been a fun journey, and I've enjoyed it tremendously. So
Yeah,
happy I did it.
listening to you talk about it, I mean, it just, I can see now like why I will say that program fits so well with you.
Hmm.
Because I mean, just, the amount of intentionality I see out of you and drive to understand and seek out and know the truth about a given thing or figure out the answers to things. I could see exactly like why that program was such a great fit for you and in your journey.
Yeah,
Well, I think that was really good coverage of your journey and your story. Thank you so much for sharing.
of course,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm happy to. I'm happy
yeah.
to.
A lot of the other stuff that as we're going through listening to you, it just like um spells out to me like so much of the things that we talk about on our channel, like like the journaling, the mindfulness, intention, like um and that type, which I think is a repetitive message on our channel and bringing people
Hmm.
back to
Hmm.
those things. And
Yes, yeah. I think one of the other things that popped into my brain, so maybe I need to say this for somebody that's listening. One of the components is about effective communication,
right,
right? So the program, the Ayurveda program, is divided into 5 parts.
right,
One's you're learning the doshas, another is eating intentionally, basically
right, right,
effective communication, perpetual renewal for our bodies. What do we need to do? The sleep, circadian rhythms, that type of thing.
right, right,
And then the final piece is balancing with our 5 senses. But
right,
specifically to communication,
right,
I have shared with many people over the years, words to use
right,
if we're feeling victimized, or words not to use, and in all relationship situations,
right,
and that's a big piece of the course that really makes a lot of sense to me, and how we use our words. And we can use them for good and we can use them for bad. So just being aware of how we're speaking, not only to others but to ourselves,
right,
and we
right.
can't belittle ourselves. We need to lift ourselves up, and then we can lift others up around us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave it to you then. You want to close us out?
I'm so happy to share this. I hope anybody, all of you, gets one little nugget from this week. And you can always reach out, and we are more than happy to share. Check us out on our respective websites. That all of the information is in our bio or description. And we love you, and we all want you to live your best life. And maybe that's using integrative approaches and leading you to healthier living. So for this episode, all the best. Chris, thank you. Truly grateful and appreciative of our journey together in this process. So peace and be well.
See you guys later.